Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix podcast, I have two of my pals on, and we're going to be talking about food. We're going to be talking about their meal prep business. We're going to talk about their gym a little bit. And really, the goal of this podcast is to help inspire you when it comes to food and thinking about different ways to get out of the mundane when it comes to your meal prep. So Chad Sterling and Jenny Wright are two pals of mine. They are in Boone, Iowa, and they own the gym called the 6th Street Underground and Radicato, which is their meal service business. They don't want to be referred to as just meal prep because it's so much more than that. It's two foodies geeking out. And so now we're going to add in the third foodie. And in this podcast, we talk about making mushrooms taste amazing to the point they're like chicken and you don't even know it. They've fooled some of their customers, and in a full taste test on it, they're going to talk about that. Now, we're also going to talk about how when food is used seasonally from local farms, how it just tastes better, and how there's some little intricacies that may be happening with the dirt that can help these foods taste even better. We talk about how these guys look at making new recipes and how they use market research to do it when they go out to eat and dissect different meals and just get the essence of the flavors. And so the idea with this podcast, it's a little twist from my usual, but this one is really to help you think in a different way about your weekly food and making food that is considered healthy taste better, but also fusing comfort food with healthy food in a way that it just works so well and it keeps you wanting to eat healthy because it actually tastes good. Now, we're going to dive into where these guys are located there in Boone. If you are in the local Iowa area or you have family there or friends, please share this podcast because Chad and Jenny are really growing an amazing thing there, and they're combining their gym with the meal service. So cool. So you can check them out, and I've got that in the podcast notes at the end. Radicato Nourishing Boone on Instagram, and you can head over to 6th Street Underground for their gym and check that out as well. I'll have all the details in the podcast notes at drjkrausend.com. So let's introduce you to Chad and Jenny. Jenny and Chad, welcome to the Health Fix podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys, this is fun. I have been watching the evolution. I got to meet Chad a little bit later in the journey. I've been watching Jenny's kind of transformation here as things have gone on, and it's really exciting to see where you guys are at now. And you just told me you've got new space for meal prep, no longer in the church basement, I hear.
Yeah, coming soon. We're still working in the church basement now, like we have for about, I think it's a little over 3 years now. But within the next, we hope, several months, we will be in our own space. No more sharing with church ladies, which will be a whole new experience for us.
Progress, right? Progress.
Always, always. So, of course, I had to ask about names because you guys have the gym and then you have your meal prep service. And we were kind of joking that your guys' big mission is to prevent people from getting 6 feet under. But you're actually called the 6th Street Underground on the gym side of things. Was it basically when you guys were thinking about that, did your mom's influence of the 6 feet under have anything to do with it, or you guys already had your name ahead of time?
We already had the name, so the gym name took us not quite as long as it did to name our meal prep business Radicato, but the building that we're in is really great. It's an industrial building. It's pretty historic in downtown Boone, and it is partially underground and resides on 6th Street. So when we decided on the name and I was announcing that to my family, my mom thought that I said, instead of 6th Street Underground, she thought I said 6 feet underground. And I was like, no, we're doing the exact opposite of that, actually. But that was a great play on words.
I love it. I love it. I think, it's something in terms of why we call, like our businesses make a huge difference. And I think energetically, it's just perfect. So Radicato, where did this come from? Tell us a little bit more about that one.
That was a journey. Our mission was around trying to make healthier foods accessible to more people in our community. And I think we tried about every word in the English language to come up with something that described it without making it really super long. And eventually we said, well, let's try other languages. And so as we were looking through some synonyms for the core words which were rooted in our community, we came across a word that we both liked that was based in Latin or Italian, that was radicato, which means deeply rooted. And we both kind of liked it right away and rolled with it.
Yeah. We knew pretty early on that we wanted some play on that word rooted because, our mission with Radicato is deeply rooted in our community. It's deeply rooted in our beliefs around food and nutrition. And we just wanted to kind of use something that was a little different sounding, a little catchy, but maintained that sense of value and mission that drives everything we do with our business.
Side effect is we get to hear all kinds of people try to pronounce it in lots of different ways, and it's pretty entertaining.
It is. One of our favorites is Radicato. There's a handful of people that think it's just Radicato, which we're on board with you trying that food in addition to our business. But yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when I saw it and it quick blipped through, my mind first went to that. And then I was like, no, that doesn't say Radicato. That says Radicato. And I'm like, wow, what a fun word. It's like almost like rooted, but also like radical. Radical roots is what my brain was kind of thinking about when I saw that. I'm like, I like it. No.
We're very much on board with that translation too, because there was a lot of that play on words that we were hoping for. And just, again, kind of what we stand for, what our mission is, it is a little bit radical.
Yeah. The number one thing as a doctor that I see for most people in the barrier from fitness and health is food prep. It's the number one barrier where people are like, I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to, even think about what I'm going to make for food. So you're really covering the two most, I would say, the biggest barriers, because of course I believe fitness is the number one thing that we have to have of some sort in terms of be healthy, because otherwise we can eat as healthy as we want, but if we're sitting on the couch all day, what's it all for? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that really, honestly, Janine, that's both of our businesses. That's our one of the things that got us interested in both is being a healthier version of yourself accessible to people and almost thoughtless. Really, the goal there is helping people kind of get from point A to point B. Like, they know they want to eat a little bit healthier. They know that they need to move their bodies. And we kind of provide those stepping stones so that the whole process is a little bit more thoughtless. And I don't mean that it's not still thoughtful, that is not something that they're intentional about, but that it's made so much easier for them because the most difficult part that they have to do is literally step into the gym. Once they do that, it's program that has been planned out every step of the way. There's a purpose for, and then you've got coaches that are leading you through the process. When it comes to the food business, it's the same way. You want to eat a little bit better, but maybe you don't have the time or the ability to prep that food, to think about that food. You just know that it's something that you maybe need to focus on a little bit. And we make it as simple as open a menu, choose what you want, and then it's ready for you and you can grab it from your refrigerator. It's faster and more convenient and oftentimes cheaper than even fast food. And it's locally sourced, chef prepared meals that taste nothing like standard meal prep.
You mentioned something that makes me laugh. Yeah, standard meal prep. Because a lot of people are like, healthy food doesn't taste good. I don't know how to make, I don't know how to make vegetables taste good unless I drown them in butter.
Right.
And so what kind of fun things are you guys doing to help the food not be so healthy tasting?
Well, we're not afraid of cooking with seasonings, and we're not afraid of cooking with healthier fats. We believe they both play a big role, not only nutritionally, but just in the enjoyment of the food that's put in front of you. So we don't go overboard with anything really, but we make sure that we use things that maybe are otherwise ostracized in some circles, things around fat or salt. Those play a really key role in taste and texture and the things that maybe keep people from thinking they can enjoy even steamed vegetables. If you just add a little bit of the right ingredients, it suddenly turns into a delicious thing.
Yeah. And where we get them matters too, right? Like, we are I think we struggle with being called meal prep because when we think of meal prep, we think of like ground meat and rice and somebody's frozen vegetable blend that they eat in a box on repeat every day. They have the same lunch or the same dinner for every single meal. Neither of us have any interest in that. That works for people for like a week or two. And then you tend to hate life a little bit and you don't really want to eat that anymore. You can make vegetables taste a lot better if you're getting them from your local farmer. And that's where a lot of our stuff comes from. We're, trying to avoid things like thinking of vegetables as the only option is from a can or that's been, freezer burned in the back of your grocery store for the last year and a half. The choices you make in how you source your food matters in terms of
Mm.
quality, in terms of taste, and a lot of other reasons.
I mean, we've done some unintentional experimentation, if you will, where we'll make the same dish when a vegetable is out of season and people will enjoy it. But then we'll get that in season vegetable from a local farmer and put it in the dish and not tell anybody sometimes. And the feedback is amazingly more positive when we do that. They can tell a difference without knowing what we did. And it's really just about sourcing it from a fresh local place that, we just went and got it yesterday and cooked with it today from a farm.
Huge. I don't think
Yeah.
many people think about that.
No, and like bonus, again, in that whole realm of like, I want to do something better for me, but make it a little more thoughtless so that it doesn't feel like I'm adding one more thing into my life that's already busy and crazy. The nutrient value of locally grown foods is just plain higher than what you're going to get from a grocery store or a bulk, wholesale store or
Mm.
a restaurant supply place. So in a way, we're helping them be healthier again without them even having to think about it. If they can eat the portion of vegetables we put in their containers for their food, for their dishes, they're already getting a leg up than if they were just grabbing a can off the grocery store shelf.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Tell me a little bit about how you guys found your farmers that you work with and like how you've developed relationships with them. And you can tell us what farmers if you want to. I mean, it's all whatever. I just very curious how you made the relationships and how you were like looking at their quality. Did you go visit the farms? Did you talk with them?
Mhm.
How'd you meet them?
Yeah, it's been a long trial and error process. When we first started, we maybe knew of 2 or 3 farmers in the local area within, short drive that we wanted to try out, and so we did. We immediately noticed the difference, and then as we've gone, we've one way or another, we've either had them referred to us, we've seen them on Facebook, we've noticed a sign when we were driving down the highway. It's amazing the different ways we've come across them. What is our set of people that we've used off and on? It's like 40 or so now
Yeah,
across
we
the
Wow.
couple of counties
Yeah.
around us.
Yep. And a lot of times the schedule of our business is a little problematic for, like, say, something as simple as going to a farmer's market and making a connection. So we do the way our schedule runs, we cook all of our foods on Fridays and then our customers pick everything up on Saturday morning. Most farmers markets happen on Saturday mornings. So we're a little preoccupied. And so we had to get a little more creative that way. And sometimes it was really actually as simple as like following a sign or having another small business owner say, "Hey, did you know that there's this small farm that does microgreens in, this county over here?" And we were like, "No, we've never heard of them. Sounds like they're doing cool things." And then we just reach out and it's been a really positive experience across the board. We've been able to visit many of the facilities and everyone has something really unique about it that we really enjoy. We'll probably give a shout out to a couple of our favorites. I would say I'll talk about Red Granite Farms. That's a place north of Boone. And not only do they really have a pretty beautiful setting and a great operation, we've repeatedly said to Nicole, the farmer that runs the place, there's something about the soil. There's something that she does out there with the way that she cares for her soil that just makes everything we've ever gotten from there taste different and taste better. Like we've talked to her about what her practices are. We've seen the operations from a pretty intricate detail, and we've just come down to the conclusion that maybe nothing really is done a lot differently other than the soil. Something is happening in the soil. And then Chad, I bet, wants to talk about Joy Grow mushrooms.
Yeah, of all the places, right, there's this guy that used to live here in Boone that relocated so that he could find a property where he could build a big, like, metal Morton building And inside
Oh,
of there, he's got it all set up to grow mushrooms. And so he can grow mushrooms year round. You walk inside of it. Have you been inside of that?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you walk inside of it and it feels like you're walking into a cave.
Yeah.
And he's got different grow rooms that are really well temperature and humidity controlled where he grows dozens of varieties of mushrooms. Turns out he's serving some of the top end restaurants in the Des Moines metro area with some of these mushrooms. And, he just loves the fact that we're doing this in Boone, which is his hometown. So he loves to partner with us, and he'll even reach out to us when he's got a few extra mushrooms and say, hey, could you figure out a way to work mushrooms into your menu? But we've, not only done things with him around oyster mushrooms, which is a pretty standard thing, but we've discovered different varieties of mushrooms that we can't believe how much different they are, and yet they add a different dimension to dishes when we use them. So that's pretty fantastic. And then we've got just recently another one that we've discovered, which is the Root to Rise farm, which has been a pretty cool place for produce and seasonal vegetables too.
okay. Now I'm intrigued because I geek out on the farms, geek out on, I also want people to hear this because Boone is how many people are in Boone? It's not big.
12,000.
12,000 people. And I think a lot of people will sit and go, well, like, I don't know where to get healthy food. I'm like, Boone is not that big. And there are 40 plus, farms you're working with. And we've got a guy that's got a big middle building with all these mushrooms. Now, let's talk mushrooms.
Not just a guy, like talk about the most interesting person. One of the most interesting people you'll ever meet is the guy who hangs out in the dark with mushrooms all day long.
Oh my gosh. Does he play music to him? I've heard that they grow better if you've got
Oh,
We'll
no
have to
music.
doubt.
ask him. I'd have no idea, but if so, I would just want to know what music he plays.
He's also a really good cook in his own right too.
Yeah.
It's like he'll send like Instagram videos of what he's doing with different varieties of mushrooms on his grill or in his home kitchen, and it all just looks fabulous. So yeah, he's a foodie too.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, different varieties of mushrooms you guys didn't know about and adding different dimensions to foods. Because I think a lot of people will be like, mushrooms are kind of, unless you really love them, it's like why? And let's talk about benefits of mushrooms, like what you guys like about them in terms of health benefits. So I'll let you guys take over on that one. Tell me what kind of dimensions, what kind of recipes, what kind of flavors, and why you guys like mushrooms so much.
Well, I think a big knock on mushrooms, if I'm being honest with the people that really don't know what to do with them or they've only ever had them out of a can is texture. I think texture is a huge deal for mushrooms for people, and they believe that all mushrooms have the same texture. And a lot of it comes to how you cut them, how you prepare them, and also how you cook them. It's not just throw some throw some mushrooms out of water into a dish. So, for example, the oyster mushroom, I don't know how many people are familiar with them, but we just used them a few weeks ago in a chicken Philly bowl. So
Oh.
we sliced the chicken breast a certain way and we tried to emulate that with the mushroom too. So in a way, they kind of were hidden in the dish in terms of visually hidden in the dish. And so many people didn't even mention the mushrooms, which is a good thing because it added a dimension that made it more flavorful and more delicious and more nutritious in some of the minerals that it adds to your diet. But they were sort of invisible in a way. So that was one. And then I think we've done it in soups with
Yeah.
chestnut mushrooms,
Yep.
which was pretty fantastic too.
Chestnut mushrooms. They look like chestnuts or they taste like them. I've never had them.
They're chestnut in color.
There you are.
They're
Yeah.
little
Oh,
tiny
okay.
mushrooms, but chestnut in color, and they add kind of a roasty flavor
Mhm.
to a dish,
Yeah.
which is pretty fantastic.
They're super interesting and tasty, and like they don't have as much of the textural. If people are off put by thinking mushrooms are slimy, right? Like
Yeah.
the chestnut mushrooms really don't have that. It's more on the end of maybe like a portobello, like that meaty
What was
bite.
our favorite story though has got to be the where we took the oyster mushrooms and I don't know what we do. We cut
We
them in
baked
little
them,
tiny
yeah.
strips and we baked them in
Olive
oil.
oil,
Yeah, olive oil and
spices.
salt and spices. And this was a thing that Aaron from Joy Grow told us to do. And we cooked them to the point where they were crispy. And then we had one of our customers try them, and these people are anti-mushrooms.
Like they will ask us to leave mushrooms out of their dish
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we
if they
asked
order it.
yeah, we asked them to try them. We didn't tell them what it was, and it did not resemble a mushroom at all. And they were like, "Well, this is really good. Is it what, chicken skin?"
I thought it was chicken skin or
Yeah.
bacon, and they were
And
mushrooms.
they loved them. So again, it's how you prepare them a lot
Yeah.
of the times.
That's, here's the okay, I've got so many things I could say because I used to teach kids cooking classes back when I lived in Colorado. And one of the biggest things moms would say is like, I can't get my kids to eat the vegetables. Well, number one, getting them involved in cooking, of course, that helps. But like you said, incorporating it in, much like not knowing if it's chicken or if it's bacon. And we don't even talk about the fact that mushrooms are in there. Or we talk about mushrooms and we cook them in a way that the kids are like, oh wow, that's a mushroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with adults. Because like you said, canned mushrooms, I mean, in the Midwest, let's be real. In Wisconsin, I'm pretty sure most of us associate canned mushrooms with what's on top of a pizza. Like
Right.
Mhm, mhm.
Absolutely.
that's exactly what we think about here. And so, thinking about mushrooms like a chicken, I mean, what? Okay, what other things? Now I'm intrigued. What other things have you guys had like blew your mind about different ways you could prep certain foods that maybe people wouldn't normally eat? Or they'd be like, please don't put those in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is not a mind-blowing one for those of us who've probably eaten a lot of these in our lifetime. But sweet potatoes were something that were surprisingly foreign to a lot of our clients and a lot of our customers. They were like, "Oh, I don't like sweet potatoes. The only time I've ever had them is at Thanksgiving covered in marshmallows." And that version is okay, but they'll tell us like, "Oh, I've tried sweet potato fries at a restaurant and those I didn't like them." And we have had, I mean, like we can not no longer count on two hands how many people have said, I really disliked sweet potatoes until we tried yours. And they were just in there, so I had to try them. And, I kind of like them now. And that's simply a matter of like maybe giving them in a way that they've never had before. Like we do a lot of like spice and savory mix on those. So maybe it's something as simple as like roasting with cinnamon and a little bit of cayenne.
I see you both are foodies and you both light up a lot when you talk about food. Did you guys meet? How did you meet to work together? Because I'm super fascinated, and I never asked the conversation in any of our conversations we've had.
Chad actually started as a student of mine. Both used to work and, well, train first and then work at a facility in Boone that has since closed. And while we were there, Chad came in as a client, and he was my first long-term nutrition client. So when I first started doing nutrition coaching, Chad was with me for a full year and had already done a lot of things to improve his health and had already lost just an enormous amount of weight and had put in all kinds of work toward that process, but wanted to just kind of tweak things a little bit and shift his focus a little bit and kind of work on some longevity style nutrition focus. And so we met on a weekly basis. We chatted often and realized, well, we both really like food, and oh, we both really like the habit change that's involved in this process. And Chad was a coach by profession at that time in a different realm completely. And so we just really clicked in that regard. And then he started doing some nutrition coaching. He took all the same certifications that I had taken in that process. We were like, man, we're working with people who are doing great things, but they are continually stuck by, you know, bridging this little gap between like where they are and where they want to be. And a lot of that's lifestyle stuff or, the time that they have to devote to that. And so we were like, how could we further help them? And that's kind of where Radicato was born.
I mean, the other part of that sort of journey was once I discovered that I had a passion for nutrition in working with Jenny. And then as we started talking about what are the things we could do with that, even from maybe a side gig or something to sort of complement, scratch an itch that we both had to like help people with nutrition. I think circumstances just lined up in a way that helped us get to the point where we could start the business then, because we weren't burdened by the other facility that we were working on. We had time to dedicate to really think through how we wanted to express our mission and to move forward with it. I, at the same time, had been in a corporate job for 25 years. And even though I was doing a lot of coaching professionally in that job, I really wanted to step back and do something for myself. And Jenny was the perfect person to do it with. We had interests that were aligned and the same sort of mission and outlook on things. So it just kind of worked out.
And we
Nice.
both do really geek out about food. So like one thing we've done since even before we officially started Radicato is we will have almost weekly market research where we go and find like really interesting dishes that we want to try at other places, other restaurants, or, whatever the place may be. Or we go to a farm stand or somewhere and we get something that we've never had before in terms of a vegetable or piece of produce or a type of meat. And we play with our food. a lot. And so it's really fun to kind of go through that process together and help figure out what are the things we really like. We pick things apart as we eat them, not in a judgmental way, but like, what is it about this thing that we love so much? Or what is it we don't like? And how could we replicate something like this or make it more user friendly? Because we have pretty adventurous palates and we serve a pretty wide range of people. We have people who would be willing to jump on that adventure with us, and we have people who think black pepper has a kick to it. So we have to kind of find some middle ground.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
pretty
gosh.
fun. It's pretty fun to go on some of those little adventures where you're trying to expose yourself to new flavors. I think it's maybe we've twice ever resorted to asking the server what's in the dish. We're always sitting there trying to figure it out. Like, what is this? What is that? I know there's a flavor in there. I recognize, oh, I've never tasted these two things together. It's pretty fun.
My gosh. How cool. I see this as something that, folks could kind of take some inspiration from because, let's face it, probably the average American has like maybe 4 or 5 recipes they put on repeat every stinking week. And they may be excited about going out and doing the foodie thing and getting to a restaurant and finding something new. And then they try to replicate it at home and maybe it doesn't go so well. And so thinking about like, how can we bring this back, that joy back to food? And also looking at how you guys pick things apart. So give me a story. Give me a story. Like tell me one of the like what was your favorite food market research experiment?
That's hard.
There are a lot of them actually.
Well, I mean, we had one fairly recently that we haven't yet done a full recreation of that really caught us both off guard. So we went to a Nepalese restaurant in Des Moines and we were fully there expecting to get some of the best Indian style food we could imagine. Both of us had been to the restaurant before, and yet somehow never had seen on their menu that they had a Nepalese version of chow mein. And let me just say, chow mein would not be the thing either of us would order. Like, it wouldn't be the thing that stood out on a restaurant menu. And then I think Chad was the one who saw it and was
Yeah.
like, we have to try this. Like, it has to be something that we try. And so we did. And it was like so unexpected that it was really fantastic and so different than anything we would have ever thought it would be that we almost forgot about the dish that I had ordered, which was delicious in its own right, but it was very much masked by this surprising version of, like 2 different cultures kind of coming together and creating something that was just pretty magical.
Yeah, it was surprising to the point of being almost shocking how different and good it was.
Yeah. So
Huh.
we're still in the background process on our end of trying to recreate an experiment. That definitely is a complex enough flavor that we have to play for a while before that one hits our menu.
Yeah.
Creativity, imagination. I think most of us have kind of lost imagination, creativity, all those things around food. And so now I'm like, well, heck, I need to go out and try different restaurants and try things now too. You've inspired me to think about it and how
Yeah.
I can, replace, not replace. What am I trying to say? Like recreate it in
Yeah.
my own repertoire. But okay, let's talk a little twist because obviously a lot of folks are gonna be thinking about chow mein, right? And they're gonna be like, oh, that's not
Right.
really healthy.
Yeah.
You guys always are going to twist it so that you've probably got more veggies in there. You've probably got different things that you're thinking about. Now, because you're still on the working process of that one, I recently saw something about a tamale bowl on
Yeah.
Instagram. So, a lot of people be thinking about tamales as like the tamale, and really it's more corn than anything when you get a tamale, but yours looked like it had a bunch of other things. Talk us through how you guys think about a dish like that and how you're like, I'm gonna add more veggies, I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna add that. How does that work for you guys? What's the process?
Well, honestly, something like that dish usually starts with a food memory for us. And that's one of those, you just happened to see my birthday week menu, right? So yesterday was my birthday and I chose full week's menu, which normally it's much more collaborative than that. But we do this for each of our birthdays where we just pick some of our favorite things and put them out there. And, growing up, I was lucky enough to have parents who grew a lot of their own food. They canned a lot of their own stuff. They were just a couple of hippies raising children, and so my dad was always the one who was. My mom you could pretty much put anything in front of her, and she would figure out how to make it. My dad was the one who was like, "Hey, hey, let's really explore with flavors. And one of the things that he and I used to do is there was a little tamale stand in the town that he worked in, and we would go there and get tamales every once and again. We would travel to other towns that weren't too far away, and eating out was a rarity in my childhood, like a big time rarity. But when we would go to places, we would look for things like that were shared favorite flavors, like my dad and I both loving tamales. And so when we put that on the menu, we decided that we wanted to maintain that kind of like amazing, warm, comforting, delicious flavor of the tamale itself. But as with anything, it's about balance and moderation, right? So sometimes we'll have things like this amazingly delicious cheesy polenta as the tamale base of our bowl, but we know we have to balance that out with some reality. Like a whole container of cheesy polenta would be like dream world. Reality is you throw in some protein, you throw in some vegetables that have a little acidity that are going to kind of balance out the creamy, and some fiber that's going to help your body digest all of this stuff that you're taking in, and then cilantro on top to make it just taste amazing. So those are kind of the ways that we try to think through it. Like, have something that feels a little bit more indulgent, but like balance it in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're going without. We just had a dish we did, like a salmon dish with mashed potatoes. You could put a bowl of mashed potatoes in front of either one of us, and I think we would be perfectly happy to just stuff our faces if there was nothing stopping us. But understanding that you can then take some really healthy things and add it to that really yummy, decadent thing, you won't feel deprived. In fact, you'll feel better in the end because you didn't eat a whole bowl of mashed potatoes alone.
And take a mashed
Well,
potato nap.
Right.
my mashed potato coma for sure. I've been in a few of those. I mean, you're speaking my language, like mashed potatoes, polenta with cheese, and oh, gosh, yes.
Especially as it's getting cold for most of us. Like, we just kind of crave more of those comfort foods. And again, it's just about how do you kind of balance that out, especially for, like, me, I'm always cold, right? Like, I'm always, I could walk around in a blanket and a hoodie and a stocking cap and still be cold. And so it's easy to gravitate toward those things that warm us up. We just have to do it a little more.
And I think this is great. I mean, inspiration again for a lot of folks to think it, like, I think we think when we are moving to eating healthy, I think the first and foremost thing everybody thinks is like, there goes my mashed potatoes, there goes this, there goes that. They like make a list of all the things they can't eat instead of the things they can eat. And now just hearing you guys talk, I'm like, all right, what other things? Chad, I got to hear from you. Like, what's your favorite thing on the menu? What's on your birthday week menu?
I don't know if I remember. That was April, so long ago. That's like 30 menus since then. I will tell you that I don't know if I have a very specific meal, but I am very much on board and intrigued by the constant attempts by us to find things that are otherwise known as comfort foods and try to make them healthier or more nutritionally balanced in a way that maybe surprises people. I don't know if I have a good one off the top of my head, but we have things like pot roast and Philly cheesesteak bowls and things that people look at and they say, oh man, that seems like a really great comfort food, but boy, it doesn't sound healthy. We don't necessarily make it perfectly healthy, but we certainly make it delicious, more balanced, and more nutritionally complete. And then we properly portion it. And like, to me, that's the puzzle part of this that I really get into. I may not nerd out over a very specific dish, although Jenny, you probably could list a couple that I have nerded
It does.
out.
Curry.
Yeah, curry is like a really big thing for me because, again, it's one of those things I was exposed to as a young person. So I was 10 or 11, I think, in that range when I had my first bowl of curry and sticky rice, and I fell in love with it. And I've been on a lifelong search for something that measures up to that. So like, I love cooking curry and finding different flavor combinations that make it more accessible and approachable for people that think it's just a spicy dish they get at their local Thai restaurant.
Or
And
like
we've been trying to do that without doing there's a lot of hacks out there right now. And I use that term in a couple different ways, but there are a lot of like cooking hacks to make things healthier that include dumping in, inordinate amounts of cottage cheese or protein chips and things of that nature. And we're really trying to kind of still make things true to their original form and super tasty. So, like, if we make a mashed potato, we're still going to use real butter in the mashed potato, and it's not going to be, we're not going to be hiding strange things in there. Like, we're not going to have,
Collagen.
make, yeah, like, yes, none of that.
Collagen in
Yeah.
mashed potatoes? Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like oatmeal with protein powder, right? And at the end of the
Hmm.
day, yeah, in a pinch, I I recommend this stuff, but it's still processed,
Yeah.
right? Like, what did they do to get to that format? And so I always look at it and go, "Oh, wouldn't real food be better?"
Yeah, like for us, it's again, that whole balance issue of like focusing on eating healthier is great, but like if your main focus, for example, is just get in gut busting amounts of protein and not give a thought to what you're taking in with it. And so therefore not taking into any consideration how your body's absorbing it. You're not going to feel good. And if you're not going to feel good, you're probably not going to continue that same healthy focus.
And if it doesn't taste good. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever dumped protein powder into oatmeal, it's not like the most epic
It's
thing ever.
Nope. Nope. Again, it's
Blah.
that whole textural thing, right?
It is. It is. So I like the idea that you guys are still remaining true to like the foodie aspect because so many folks with the health kicks, I've said this probably 3 times now on the podcast, but it's something that I really want to get the point. Like we're not gonna continue to eat as healthy as we can for ourselves if it doesn't taste good. And if it doesn't give us that like we are human. We cannot block the desire to have the food for something to comfort us. Like I'd be lying if I even said like, "Oh, I rewired myself to not want comfort food." I don't think that's possible. I really don't.
Well, and
Um,
I don't even know that it's necessary. If we're talking about a lifetime of health, which is what most of us are aiming for, you're not probably going to be able to sustain eating things that don't taste good, things that are 0 calorie, but like 100% science in order to be 0 calorie. That's not, it may serve you for a short period of time. If you have like some really hard fought aesthetic goals, or if you are just absolutely in a pinch where you feel like you have to do something really extreme for a short period of time, those kind of things all play a role in that process, but they don't necessarily play a role in the kind of thing you're going to do and maintain for the rest of your life. And back to Chad and I and our stories, both of us have had really big transformations in our lives. Neither of us were athletic in our youth. Both of us spent a large portion of our lives overweight and not moving our bodies and not feeding them well. And unlike many people that we know personally who've had big body transformations, we have been able to maintain the things that we did to get to where we're at for 10 years into middle age. The
Hmm.
stress of owning 2 businesses is a reality in our lives right now. So neither of us are exactly where we want to be in the moment, but we're also not so far off that, we've had these big fluctuations of like both of us losing around 100 pounds or more or just less, and then having, gone up and down and up and down and up and down in that process. And the big key there is figuring out how to make it the kind of thing that you're willing to make a lifestyle habit more than just to get you to that next goal, and not have it just be like all or nothing. No pass fail here. We're just all trying to make it as long as we can.
it's you guys have such just a straight look at it. And it's such a good, insightful look because I think so many people are struggling with the ups and downs. And like you said, like, oh my gosh, in the world of GLP-1s and all these things, we are all now programmed for quick fix. And then it's like, and then what when you come off of these things? And that's the biggest thing I'm worried about people coming off the GLP-1s. What are they going to do when they
Yeah.
haven't figured out that right thing? And you guys did it without any of it on board.
Yeah. If GLP-1s are the thing that you need to get yourself moving in the right direction, like we have no issues with that whatsoever. But again, it's the now what? It's the where do we go from here? And
Mhm.
100% of the time, whether it's GLPs, whether it's just somebody working on body recomp, whether it's someone working on getting into healthier habits to benefit their mental health, no matter what that thing is, it's the habits that get you there. And if we can help with those and make those easier to implement into your life and make it the kind of thing you don't have to think so much about. Like, we know from personal experience that that's how it happened for us. When we automated some of those things, when we were able to enjoy the food we were eating, even if it was healthier, that's what made us want to keep going.
So huge, so huge. And that's definitely the message that I want folks to hear today is that, you can automate this stuff and what you guys have going on with Radicato. I mean, I wish it was in every city. So when are you expanding to every city? When are we taking this even further?
Well, we
We
got to
need to,
multiply us
right? We
first.
need an
Yeah.
employee. That would help. A single employee would probably be useful.
Well, you got kids, right? I mean, Jenny,
Yep. Yeah, his son has a culinary degree. We keep trying, but
We keep trying.
he's got other ideas.
He's getting lots of good kitchen experience right now.
He
So
is.
maybe someday.
well, you can always help, right? And
Right.
hey, I love what you guys are doing. It makes it so much easier for folks. I wish that you guys weren't 6 hours away from me because I would be like, send them my way. I would love this. Now, with your meals, are you guys doing and forgive me because I'm now forgetting, are you doing every like breakfast, lunch, dinner for folks? Can they do everything or is it lunch, dinner? What are you typically covering?
Yeah, they're designed so we have a very specific breakfast meal every single week. The rest of the meals, there's a snack in there as well. The rest of the meals are designed so they could be consumed for either lunch or dinner, honestly. So
Okay.
yeah, they could cover their day if they really wanted to do that.
And you can do something as simple as purchase one meal from us, or we do meal bundles. There aren't a lot of people who probably use it for every single breakfast, lunch, and dinner that they do.
But there are several that use it every day for lunch. For
Mhm.
example, we have a few working professionals here in downtown Boone that they come in and get enough food that they and maybe one other person in their office sometimes can have a lunch available all week long. So they don't have to go get something like Jimmy John's or take out food from a local Chinese restaurant or whatever it is they do. They have a healthy option right there.
I mean, how crucial would this have been for you guys when you were going through the process
Mm.
of the weight loss? Like,
Would have
I
made it
would love
easier.
for you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So,
It would have been a great supplement, I think,
Hmm.
to the things that we were already doing. And we have a number of people who just like us, like the two of us really enjoy cooking, and people are amazed and maybe sometimes a little appalled that we spend as much time as we spend on because we do all of our cooking on a single day since we also own and operate the gym. So everything we do is done from like early in the morning on a Friday until very late into the night, into sometimes Saturday morning because of our rental agreement and because of what the space we have available, the time we have available. And so there are a lot of people who can't believe that then when they come in for like now we have a Sunday night pickup too. Sometimes they'll come in and we'll be cooking when they come in because we're like making our food for the week or we're practicing the next experiment. They're like, oh my gosh, don't you guys ever get tired of cooking? The answer is not really. Saturdays, neither of us really want a lot to do with food on Saturdays, eating or cooking. But other than that, no, I mean, we have to keep doing that. So yeah, I'm sure back in the day we would have used it, but as a supplement.
my gosh, yeah, I mean, the biggest complaint I hear is dinner for most people because they'll get to
Mm.
the point that, they'll have skipped lunch and then they'll get to the dinner time frame and they're like, I don't even know what to do now.
Yeah.
And the whole decision fatigue thing too. I mean, that's where I'm at especially some days. But just listening to you guys talk about how you guys light up so much when you talk about creating the recipes and the new meals. I'm like, maybe I need some inspiration. That's it. I'm coming down to Boone and hanging out with you guys on a
Perfect.
Friday. I think I have to do
Perfect.
that
We
so
we
that I
would
can.
invite that for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, there aren't a lot of people. It's the reality, right? Like for a lot of people, eating is sort of just the thing you have to do. It maybe isn't the thing that you enjoy. And so you're not gonna maybe nerd out and geek out about food as much as the two of us are, but allow us to do that and then you can enjoy the spoils of that, right?
yeah,
Well, I mean, our menu changes every week for a reason. It would be
Yeah.
a lot easier. I'll just put that out there right now. It would be so much easier for us if we didn't change our menu every single week. But again, we want to get people trying new foods. We want to keep experimenting and having fun with it. And it helps us kind of stay seasonal with what we're using too, to keep it
for sure.
rotating all the time.
I can imagine you guys are gonna have quite the repertoire after a while because, you look at the
Mm.
different like the big companies out there, like the I can't even think of them now, but I everyone probably has one in their mind.
Like the meal prep
Yeah.
delivery stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like you get to choose and that's what you get. And and I'm guessing that they probably have like lunch lady chefs now, just in there whipping up the
They
stuff
do.
that the
Mhm.
creativity's gone is what I'm trying to say. And the fact that
Yeah.
we've got two people, we could see you guys. You're like little wizards back there, working on stuff. I'm like, oh, so good, so good. So we got to tell guys, like folks, how they can find you and how far out from Boone, like I would guess, like if they're willing to drive in, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, yeah. Tell us your Instagram. I think is Radicato, and then it says Nourishing Boone. I'm gonna let you guys say it before I start rattling.
I think Instagram is Nourishing Boone. Yeah. Facebook, you can find us by looking up Radicato Boone. Right now it's pickup only. Pretty much as long as you're willing to drive, we'll have food available for you if you pre-order it. We typically target about with our, Facebook ads and things like that. We target about a 20 to 25 mile radius. That seems to be the sweet spot in terms of people that are willing to drive. But we have people driving from farther than that, like I think 30 or 35 miles away is our big one. And we do get on a fairly regular basis inquiries about how soon we'll be available in cities and towns closer to the Des Moines metro area. I have some former coworkers that I worked with down there that are waiting patiently for us to have a pickup spot down there for them. So,
So yeah, that's part of why we're excited to kind of get our own kitchen space going and get that process underway. It'll change things for us a little bit, but in a really good way and expand that reach. And we're excited for that.
I'm so excited to hear how it plays out since I've heard the journey getting there. And I'm definitely for sure we'll get you guys back on and give folks an update. And maybe we need to do my phone. Maybe we need to do a whole episode where we talk about inspiring people with recipes and different spices and things of that nature. So we'll definitely have you guys back on. Thank you guys for taking the time to hang out with me today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
yeah, it's been great.
We always have fun talking to you, Janine.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking us to do this.
Hey, my pleasure. Hey, health junkies. I'm asked all the time about what brands, from supplements to toothpaste to clothing, that I use. 90% of the items that are sent to me to test out do not pass my standards. You might be wondering, what are your standards? Well, I like companies that are small companies. They're still family owned or at least owned by the original owners or someone from that group to maintain the standards. Now, I also love a company with a great story of how the business came to be. I like things that are high quality, non-toxic, as well as transparency. Major big deals. Now, above all, I love things that work. So, made in the US is definitely a major bonus. But while I have worked with a couple of different clothing companies over the years, I realize that these companies sometimes need support in other countries to get off the ground. And it's really important about how they treat their companies, sometimes more than being 100% made in the US. Nevertheless, I'm working on putting together a list of companies that I like their products and what they stand for, along with discounts for you to try them out. Full disclosure, I do make a little commission if you buy any of the items on the page, and this money goes back to helping me keep producing this podcast. If you're curious about a few of my favorite apparel companies for life's adventures, check out the website, thehealthpodcast.codexadx.me. That's the healthfixpodcast.codexadx.me. And if you decide to buy anything, tell them I sent you by entering the code HEALTHFIX. Altogether, one word. All right. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. You have a great day, whatever you're doing. Hey, fellow health junkie. Thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.